Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to AWS Summit and the session on Ginnie Mae's modernization in GovCloud. First of all, today I'm super excited and very appreciate to have Barbara with me. It's going to be on stage. And later we will be hearing from Jeremy Yates, the Deputy Technology Architect. And a little bit about myself. My name is Sirirat Kongdi. Everybody call me Siri. You guys call me Siri. You all can call me Siri as well. My career at AWS started about 5 years ago as a technical account manager. And then I transitioned into a solution architect role, specialized in the Windows workload and the .NET on AWS. And now I'm a solution architect supporting federal financial customer, and Ginnie Mae is one of my customers. So this is a 300 level session, so I'm expecting you guys to know a little bit about AWS because we're going to go into the technical rabbit hole. But if you don't, that's okay too. Just at least remember maybe something like, I remember what Siri said, something like this, at Ginnie Mae session, let me talk to my account manager or your account team. So, Barbara, before we go in that, would you like to introduce or tell everybody who you are and what you do? Yeah, please join us on stage.
Thank you. So glad to walk in front of you. Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Wow, that light is bright in your face. Thank you for having me on this podium just for a minute. My role is very simple. Unfortunately, they did not ask me to say anything about AWS 300 level. I haven't gotten back beyond 100 yet, but they did ask me to say just some brief remarks on Ginnie Mae, and so I will honor your request. Did you want me to introduce Jeremy too?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So before I say something about Ginnie Mae, Siri has introduced herself. Jeremy Yates will be on video. Please listen very closely to Jeremy. He really is Ginnie Mae's resident AWS architect and our expert. He has brought tremendous value to our program, and we really do look forward to you at least listening to him. He cannot physically be here in person, but trust he put together some real, I think, good talking points to share with the audience. So for those who do not know me, I'm Barbara Cooper Jones, and I'm Ginnie Mae's Chief Information Officer. Been in this role almost 9 years, although I've been at Ginnie Mae almost 1 decade come November. And in my role, obviously, as you would expect, I'm responsible for defining and implementing those strategies that continue to advance our MBS program. And for those who do not know anything about Ginnie Mae, we are a government-owned corporation. I think we have a tremendous mission to support housing. We are actually a very small organization in terms of the number of people. We have less than 200 full-time people. We have a $2.1 trillion book of business, and our role is to link the global capital markets with our U.S., obviously the government mortgage programs. And we utilize a securitization process in working with insured agencies in housing, VA, Veterans Affairs, obviously FHA, USDA, most people don't know, it's Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, and the HUD, Housing and Urban Development, Public and Indian Housing. And with our mission work, we guarantee the investors who have invested in our mortgage-backed security, obviously timely payment of principal and interest, making their investment one of the safest that they can make because it carries the full faith and credit guarantee of the United States, the only MBS in the U.S. that does that. So our program continues to evolve. We've got new initiatives underway. We've had tremendous success in our modernization program, probably dating back since 2013. We've invested hundreds of millions of dollars in modernization. It's paid off, obviously, tremendous investment to the taxpayer and to those that we are called to serve. We are in the midst of launching a new transformation program. I cannot share very much about it, but the one thing that this program needs is the AWS Cloud Platform. And so all of you that are working with us, we are very appreciative of that. AWS, Effectual, Team Deloitte, and some others as well, because the key drivers of that program is all about digital interoperability. It is all about agility. It is all about speed. And it is all about lots of reimagined opportunities, things that we believe will set Ginnie Mae up for the next 4 to 5 decades. So thank you very much. I'm going to learn something today, and I'll hopefully be able to take that quiz. I promised one of my staff I'm going to give them.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Yeah, a little bit about our agenda for today. We will start our discussion on understanding current Ginnie Mae IT environment. Then we will learn about the why, right? The why they are making the plan to migrate to the cloud. We will go into diving deep into the architecture and see how Ginnie Mae achieved the operational excellence and the security. Then we will touch on the governance side of it, the cloud CCOE, and the mission going forward. So with that, let's hear from Jeremy.
Throughout the session, we're going to provide some insight into our journey to the cloud and how we're using AWS Cloud Services to enable our business to deliver on the mission that you were just introduced to. We started broadly with our goal of making home ownership affordable and developed the solution of our foundational architecture. Our expectation is that if done correctly, we will be able to realize the benefits that influenced our decision to take this journey. Here at Ginnie Mae, we realize that industry evolution is a constant and that we must continue to evolve so that the supply of low-cost capital for home ownership is sustained. We recognize the need to be an agile organization so that we can quickly respond to constant changes in the market. It's also important to us that we provide a seamless user experience to our program participants. These factors, along with others shown here on the slide, are some of the key guiding principles driving our cloud adoption. Another important driving influence in our cloud migration is cost reduction. With a consumption-based model of cloud services, we no longer need to incur huge capital expenditures, but rather we can utilize only those resources which are needed. With the flexible nature of cloud offerings, we're able to dynamically scale up and down based on actual resource needs. This, coupled with scaling in and out, allows us to apply only those resources needed at a single given time, thereby allowing us to achieve those cost savings. We also wanted to eliminate some of the pain points experienced in the traditional data centers, such as operational failures and the overhead of managing the underlying data center infrastructure. We're achieving this on the most basic level by migrating to the cloud, but also more specifically, the use of managed service where it's an appropriate option. Importantly as well is the security of the data and systems Ginnie Mae maintains. That's why we specifically chose to deploy an AWS GovCloud regions. Although we've achieved some flexibility, which we'll talk about more in depth later, our standard is the use of AWS services which have achieved FedRAMP High authorization. This, along with other benefits of GovCloud which are noted here, gives us confidence in the controls that are in place to secure our resources. In the next few slides, Siri's going to lay out the migration strategies that we determine are best suited for our initial shift from an on-premise network to AWS. Successful implementation of these strategies allow Ginnie Mae to achieve our first authority to operate in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. When planning the migration, the first thing that you need to do is to understand what your current environment, and then from there you would decide which migration strategy you are going to use for each workload. You can do that by extracting that information from the CMDB, your configuration management database, or you can use a tool, the third-party tool to discover or to extract the data from your IT environment. Once you have that data, then you can decide based on the business and technical needs to decide which migration strategy that you are going to use. So AWS recognizes 7 migration strategy. This is based on the 5 R's that Gartner identified in 2011. And these are refactor, replatform, repurchase, rehost, relocate, retain, and retire. And everyone knows retire, right? So I wanted to retire too. So for Ginnie Mae, their goal is to take advantage of AWS managed service and offload the infrastructure management task to AWS. But at the same time, their migration timeline is very aggressive. They don't have a lot of time to make code change. So their migration strategy mostly will be replatform if minimal code change, rehost, retain. They are going to retain one of the application, which later they have a plan to refactor and re-architect and then migrate to the cloud. And they also take this opportunity to start fresh, right? So they are going to reinstall the application and then upgrade the application to the latest version. So how the Ginnie Mae knows which migration strategy to use? So what they do is they perform the proof of concept. So each workload, they would perform a small proof of concepts and then test, for example, to use the managed service, such as the Amazon relational database. And if application works without a lot of configuration change, then they will use the managed service. But however, for one application, it's required them to configure to recode thousands of stored procedure. In that case, they would use the self-managed database running on EC2. So now let's hear back from Jeremy on how they achieve the operational excellence.
Our goal when architecting the foundational infrastructure was to take those business drivers we talked about previously and construct a design where the information technology meets those desired business outcomes. We started by developing our approach for managing our AWS account structure. Once this was decided upon, we moved to our methodology for providing network connectivity to all the components in a secure manner. Redundancy and resiliency played key roles in our implementation to ensure we learned from some of our previous experiences. We spent painstaking time and effort to attain diversity in our direct net telcos and co-locations, both geographically and in choosing the appropriate vendors. Additionally, we diversified our resources regionally and with the use of availability zones to achieve that redundancy and resiliency.
So yeah, Ginnie Mae leveraged a multi-account strategy. AWS account provides the access and security boundary to your IT AWS resources that enable you to achieve resource isolation and independence. Ginnie Mae places their each application portfolio into each separate AWS account. And they also place the production account separate from the non-production account in non-production environment in separate account. They also have a dedicated shared services account that reside of the share application that share among the other applications such as directory service, storage, networking service, or Amazon workspaces. They have a dedicated account for security, operation, and the loggings. They also have a dedicated account for the DMC3. DMC3 stands for Deloitte Multi-Cloud Command Center. This is where they host the application, the self-service application that provide a service to the user to create the environment on demand. Ginnie Mae leverage AWS Transit Gateway. The AWS Transit Gateway is, think of the Transit Gateway as a cloud router. It simplifies the routing in the large environment in AWS. And it is very particularly useful for the organization that use multi-account strategy and has large number of VPC. Transit Gateway support the hub and spoke architecture. It provides routing between VPCs, and you can leverage the advanced routing features, such as you can write a route in such a way that to prevent the traffic from the non-prod environment to the production environment. Ginnie Mae also has a dedicated account and VPC to manage the package or the traffic from the internet. They also have another VPC called the Transit VPC that manages the traffic that coming from the on-premises data center. AWS Direct Connect is used to provide a dedicated connection from the on-premises data center to Ginnie Mae environment in AWS Cloud. AWS Direct Connect provide the consistent bandwidth and network connectivity. Then they implement IPSec VPN to provide additional encryption of this connection. As Jeremy mentioned, Ginnie Mae is choosing GovCloud to be their home. They are using both of the regions for their workload, one for the primary site, the other one for the disaster recovery site. Highly resiliency and fault-tolerant network connectivity is a key for the well-architected system. AWS recommend using multiple physical data center for physical redundancy, and at each physical location, consider using the multiple connection and also multiple devices. And Ginnie Mae is doing just that. They established two direct connect for each data center and terminate it into separate devices. These direct connect will connect to the direct connect gateway and to connect to the AWS GovCloud. Think of direct connect gateway is a door to all of the AWS regions. You can create a direct connect in any region, and you can use that this door, right, to connect all of the AWS region and including GovCloud. Ginnie Mae very particularly making sure that they choose different telecom provider for each direct connect connection, and they also make sure that these connection and the DX location are geographically separated across the country. So now let's focus a little bit on the direct connect connection that connect two data center to two AWS regions. There's multiple ways to configure your direct connect, right? You can use something that we call the public virtual interface to connect your data center into AWS network. In that case, your resource that running inside your data center will be able to connect or reach out to the AWS network or AWS service, such as S3 bucket, through the direct connect, rather than go out to the internet. Or you can use the transit web, which is provide the ability for you to connect to multiple transit gateway. We talked about transit gateway before, right? For Ginnie Mae, they are using the private virtual interface connected to the direct connect, then from the to the direct connect gateway. And from the direct connect gateway, they associate that with two VPCs, one in each region. And these VPC, there are two virtual firewall appliance, one in each availability zone. And from there, they establish the VPN connection to encrypt the traffic and terminate to this firewall, terminated in this firewall appliance. The traffic will be inspected at this firewall. And they also implemented the dynamic rerouting to provide the automatically failover across this redundant network connection. AWS infrastructure is built to allow customers to achieve the high availability. AWS region is fully isolated, composed of multiple availability zones. That is also fully isolated, separate partition of AWS infrastructure. And Ginnie Mae is taking advantage of that. They provision their application across multiple availability zones. And when they can, if they can use the Amazon relational database, they choose to run it on the multi-AC deployment, which provide the high availability and durability of the database. The Amazon RDS will synchronously replicate the data to the standby instance, which is in another availability zone. For the disaster recovery, they are using the Amazon RDS read replica, which asynchronously replicate the data across the region. This provides them close to minutes RTO and RPO for the database. For the application, they use a combination of snapshot backup and the warm standby of the application to achieve 4 hours RTO and RPO. So now let's hear back from Jeremy on the very important topic, security.
Next, we're going to take a deeper look at some of the ways Ginnie Mae is securing our environment. Critical to our theme is the implementation of our TIC 3.0 architecture. The TIC 2 models that most agencies are working under currently focuses almost exclusively on security at the edge. This creates a bottleneck and reliance upon the on-premise data center to funnel traffic to and from a centralized access point. With Ginnie Mae's intent to move entirely to the cloud, this wasn't optimal for us. We decided upon a TIC 3 design that allowed us maximum accessibility without the choke points of TIC 2. In doing so, Ginnie Mae was able to distribute and diversify our security capabilities throughout the environments and closer to the endpoints where it is actually needed. We can then gather and analyze that data from various sources to get a holistic picture of what's going on in our environment. We've done this in a number of ways, such as deploying virtual firewalls internally, DDoS and other protections at the edge, and through segmentation of workloads with the use of security groups. Another really important piece of our TIC 3 architecture is our centralized log collection, where we're able to securely share various types of log data and the multiple security points with DHS for analysis. Design and implementation of this capability culminated with Ginnie Mae being accepted to participate in the DHS pilot claw program. Terry's going to go over some of these security capabilities and how we've implemented them in more depth. She's also going to talk about one other way we've secured our environments, which is with the use of AWS workspaces. Workspaces ties into our TIC 3 architecture nicely by allowing the mobile workforce access to a desktop-like experience securely within our environment so that our attack surface is reduced.
Yeah, over the next few slides, you will see that security has been integrated in every single step of the Ginnie Mae journey in the cloud. By building their environment using TIC 3 guidance and also considering using the zero trust security posture, they are developing a solid foundation to meet the recent executive order on cybersecurity. So now let's first focus on the access point in internet access point in Ginnie Mae environment, which is in this case the inbound VPC. This is where they implemented multi-layer security architecture, such as web application firewall, application delivery control, the package inspection, and DDoS protection. To address the requirement for inbound traffic inspection, Ginnie Mae are choosing to use the virtual firewall appliance and configure in a very popular architecture called ELB sandwich. So when the traffic coming into the environment is coming through the internet gateway, now it's hit the elastic load balancer, which used as a front end of the firewall fleet. The firewall will do an inspection, and once done, it will forward the traffic to the next load balancer, which has the traffic sitting behind it. And this is why it's called ELB sandwich. The firewall has to be able to do the source netting to make sure that the traffic that coming in, going out within the same firewall. And it's also need to be able to do the DNS-based routing, because it has to forward the traffic to the load balancer using the DNS name. So now, here comes the next rabbit hole of technical. So buckle up. Let's see how Ginnie Mae protect their web applications. First of all, they are using the web application firewall, which protect from the common attacks such as SQL injection or cross-site scripting. In the inbound VPC, they have application load balancer, which is the front end of two firewall appliances. In the web application VPC, this is where the web application are hosted. So now let's see how this works. When the user coming in, making the request and to the web application, first the traffic coming into the web application firewall, which usually implemented at the Amazon CloudFront or application load balancer. Once we see that the traffic is saved, it's the traffic coming through the, pass through the load balancer. Load balancer will pass the package to the application to the firewall appliance for inspection. Once inspected, the firewall is doing the DNS name resolution and figure out that the next destination hub is application load balancer, which is in the 10 network on the web app VPC there. So there, it will look at the local route table and see that the next destination is of the 10 network is transit gateway. And this is how the transit gateway is being used. So the traffic is routed to the transit gateway, and now look at the route table and sees that the next hop of the 10 network is the web app VPC. Now the traffic comes to the web app VPC, look at the local route table and see that I'm in the right place. Now it makes its way to the application load balancer, which in turn will forward the traffic to the web application. Now web application get the request, now it has to send back the response. Once again, it knows that this package has to go back to the same firewall, which is in 192 network, right? So from there, it's look at the local route table and see that the quad 0, which means that any traffic will have to go back to transit gateway. Now it's back to transit gateway, look at the route table again, 192, next destination of the 192 network is VPC inbound VPC. So now it's coming back to the inbound VPC where the firewall is. It's look at the local route table, the ingress route table, and see that any traffic that coming into this VPC will forward back to the firewall. Now the traffic is at the firewall process it, rewrite the package, and then send back to the user. So this is how the packets travel through different VPC and then go back to the user. So Ginnie Mae is committed to continue improving and optimizing their architecture using new services over the long haul. Since the previous architecture was decided before the availability of gateway load balancer within the GovCloud region, this architecture, previous architecture, can be revised to this architecture. We are considering using this architecture, put it in the backlog for now, and we will be, re-evaluate in a later date. But let's take a look at a little bit of how this architecture would work. So gateway load balancer helps simplify the deployment and the scalability of the virtual appliance developed by AWS partner. In this architecture, we decouple the firewall, right, which was in the inbound VPC, and introduce the inspection VPC. We have the gateway load balancer to load balance the traffic to this firewall. Gateway load balancer also preserve the flow, provides the stickiness of the flow. The gateway load balancer will automatically redirect the traffic if one of these firewall is become unhealthy. Gateway load balancer is using gateway load balancer endpoint, seen as a GWLBE in the inbound VPC, as a next hop in the ingress route table, and provide the bump in the wire to direct the traffic that coming from internet to gateway load balancer for inspection without having to do any package rewrite or source netting like we did before in the previous architecture. So that's a long sentence. Let's see how this actually works. So when user try to access the web application, it's coming through the IGW, Internet Gateway, ingress route table, and see that the next destination is gateway load balancer endpoint. Gateway load balancer endpoint now, instead of traffic going straight forward, right, it's make the right turn to the gateway load balancer and to the firewall for inspection. Once inspected, the firewall sent the data to the package back, and now it goes straight forward to the web application. This architecture provides the scalability and high availability for the firewall appliance, and also make it, it's also provide the flexibility of using inspection VPC as a centralized VPC for traffic inspection. So now let's turn our focus onto the logging. The recent executive order called out the need for improving loggings and log retention. Ginnie Mae has a dedicated account that to store the logging and also for the security operation. By using the dedicated account, it's provide much simpler way to control the access and the permission to the logs. Everybody wants to have your missing logs back, right? So let's prevent that from happening. Make sure that nobody can delete your logs. Make sure to log everything. Make sure you preserve your logs. And Ginnie Mae, all of the Ginnie Mae accounts and environment will send all kinds of logs to this account. These logs are Amazon S3 access logs, VPC flow logs, ALB logs, the cloud trail, which is your audit logs, all will be sent to this account. The security findings from guard duty, from the AWS Security Hub, from AWS config will also send to this account. And all of this will be sent to Splunk for aggregation. Ginnie Mae also participating in the 3 pilots program. So they will be sending the VPC flow logs to Department of Homeland Security S3 bucket. The recent executive order also called out the need of implementing the zero trust architecture. Zero trust architecture is a conceptual concept of the security model that founded in the idea that nothing can be automatically trusted, not even you are already allowed in the network. So one way to implement the technique is to breaking down your environment or your system into small components called micro perimeter or micro segments. And that would allow you to implement another concept, which is the least privilege access and the fine-grained security policy. These also limit attackers' ability to gain access to your entire network. At AWS, we use security group to create this small perimeter. I know security group, right? It's kind of really not very interesting, but it's very, very important. Security group are like your traditional firewall, but it is a dynamically software-defined networking micro perimeter. You can use security group rule to control the flow between the security group without having to manage that in individual resource. Similarly, the private link also provide one-way gateway between 2 perimeter. You can also write security group in such a way that you only allow the application to, right, in this case, access your SaaS provider. You can also use the VPC endpoint policy to write a policy such that to prevent someone to access, to provide a permission to AWS endpoint. And it's very particularly useful to use case that you can prevent someone from copying data from your environment to the S3 bucket that is not belong to you. Ginnie Mae has applications securely located inside the private subnet. And their users, their developer, are working from home, from the office, from outside of the AWS environment. Ginnie Mae uses Amazon Workspaces, which is the AWS desktop as a service offered by AWS, which sit outside of their network. But it's show itself as a network interface inside of their network. User will authenticate through the authorized authentication gateway through their Active Directory, and they also use multi-factor authentication. User will access workspaces through the workspace gateway. Noted that they're not actually logging into their environment or their VPC directly, but they're going through the workspace's endpoint that work as a proxy. Once connected, the AWS Amazon Workspace relying on the streaming of the pixel to deliver the screen rendering to the remote user. And application and the data stays securely inside the VPC. So now the next section we're going to talk about innovation and cloud CCOE. But before we going there, I want to say that Ginnie Mae has been, from the previous slide, previous talk, we Ginnie Mae has architected their AWS environment with the operational excellence and security in mind. And they chose GovCloud as their home for added security and comply with the FedRAMP High requirements. But Ginnie Mae wants to use new technology, right, new feature that AWS provides, and to architect the right solution for their business challenge. Ginnie Mae Innovation Center and their IT staff always, continue to evaluate new technology, new design through the proof of concept. So before we are going to hear back from Jeremy again, I want to go a little quickly on how new services or new feature or new code or new feature will get deployed to AWS GovCloud. Typically, when a new service or new feature are released, it's going to be launched in a few number of regions in commercial cloud first. And from there, based on many factors, one of them is the demand. The feature and or the service will make its way to AWS GovCloud or any other region for that matter. Once in the GovCloud, this feature or the service will subject to go through the internal assessment, external review, and finally authorization. But it doesn't stop there. AWS promised to continue to innovate, to reduce, and hopefully to reduce the ATO timeline, and more importantly, to improve the quality of the submission. Since 2018, 100% of our submission has been approved. So let me say that again, 100% of AWS submission the first time will get approved. To learn more about AWS services per each compliance program, go to the service in scope page. The link is on the slide over there. And if you don't see the AWS services that you want to use in AWS GovCloud, please work with your account team. We work closely with the GovCloud team to influence the roadmap on customer behalf. So now let's hear from Jeremy.
It's also important for us to continue to innovate so that we can continually improve and expand our current application stacks. That said, with Ginnie Mae's default to the use of FedRAMP High authorized services, we found ourselves behind the curve in this area. While looking to provide solutions, we often noticed that we would begin to socialize a service or a feature that had just become available in GovCloud, or even still currently only available in commercial regions. And then our exploration always fell short when someone remembered to ask the question, is it FedRAMP High? To open up opportunities in the innovation area, we collaborated extensively with our AWS team and our Chief Information Security Officer to come up with an approach that would provide the most value to Ginnie Mae's ultimate mission. We developed an informed risk acceptance-based approach based on AWS's successful history in the FedRAMP process. We started this approach by allowing initial proof of concepts to occur with commercial region-based services. These POCs are only meant to see if solutions are even potentially viable, and they are time-boxed, limited in scope, and occur in isolated sandbox areas. As Siri mentioned, this then allows us the opportunity to work with our account team to understand the potential roadmap for any particular service that a proof of concept shows is worth pursuing. Based on what these roadmaps look like, we can overlay that with our project schedules to understand how this fits into our software development lifecycle. If we find stars aligning, then moving forward with the development effort, use of the service may be allowed prior to authorization, as long as we can reasonably expect the service to achieve FedRAMP High prior to any production release. We've even encountered a few situations where the service may not reach full authorization prior to production. Perhaps the service package is in JAB review, or even still at the 3PAO assessment stage. In these cases, we continue to work with our account team on the projected roadmaps and if sensible and deemed necessary or beneficial for Ginnie Mae, we confer with our CISO on accepting the risk and allowing the service to be utilized. Based on some of the statistics that Siri shared earlier, we're often able to determine with a fair amount of confidence that the risk of a service not achieving authorization is extremely low. This flexible approach is crucial to keeping our innovation and development efforts ahead of the curve to ensure that we're using the best possible solutions for Ginnie Mae. Everything we've shared so far resulted in Ginnie Mae receiving authority to operate for our first major application deployed in our AWS foundational architecture. The effort spanned less than 5 months in total and resulted in day one user benefit due to the undeniable performance improvements we realized. So what's next for Ginnie Mae? Well, now it's time to continue to move forward. We need to continue to improve the user experience and expand the capabilities of our foundational architecture. The innovation we talked about will be crucial as we look forward to modernizing our applications post-migration. And equally, if not more important, in the development of Ginnie Mae's next generation of business applications. Tying it all together in an organizational move towards agile DevSecOps or DevOps teams that are empowered to fail fast and fail often will help us achieve increased positive results quickly. To close my comments, I want to thank the AWS team for their continued support of Ginnie Mae as we move forward with our efforts. I'd especially like to thank Siri for her help on what is practically a daily basis. Our AWS team is an invaluable resource that allows us to get the job done. I'd also like to thank everyone for joining us in the session, and I hope that we were able to provide some helpful insights into your own cloud journeys.
Now, for the takeaway, this is the takeaway for myself and from the AWS account team. In your cloud journey, you will face a decision that it's difficult, right? And then you have to make the difficult decision. And at Amazon, we refer this to the one-way and two-way door concept of decision making. You know that you have to make the decision, and sometimes you have to settle with the less optimal way, but always think of the long-term goal and then try to incorporate that into your plan. Jeremy also mentioned to implement the agile culture. This also means that don't limit yourself into technology or the tool that limit yourself from using a new or a better technology. What you don't want to do is a one-way door decision that prevent yourself from the change, especially in the IT and the security that things are moving so rapidly. One of the biggest decisions that Ginnie Mae has made was to build the security endpoint in AWS using and following the TIC3 guidance. This gives them the flexibility of using this architecture going forward, or even revert back to the TIC2, the traditional TIC2 implementation. In less than 2 months, while we were kind of busy on designing the foundational environment in the cloud, Ginnie Mae included this TIC3 implementation plan to ensure that their security posture support their future cloud native vision. Another key takeaway is always innovate and also pick the right solution. Start your experiment tinkering with the new technology in commercial cloud where it's less costly to do experiment. Then you can progress that to GovCloud. Work with your account team. You know that 90% of our product and our feature and our services are directly influenced by the feedback coming from the customer like you. We would love to hear your feedback, and we are here to help smooth your cloud journey. And finally, I would like to thank Barbara very much to be on stage with me. Thank you for Jeremy for the insights and collaboration for entire year. We are very proud to be part of this journey. And also thanks to the hardworking team member from Effectual and Deloitte for their dedication to to serve Ginnie Mae. Thank you for my teammates from AWS GovCloud, from partner team, enterprise support team that helped me serve Ginnie Mae. And finally, thank you all for coming, supporting me in this session. If you have any questions, please ask Siri. Which Siri? I'm joking. I'm trying to see if anybody still pay attention. But anyway, so if you have any questions, I'll be outside answering questions. Otherwise, have the great rest of the day. And please complete your survey.